If you have tried making bath bombs and ended up with crumbly disasters, then this video is going to change everything. I'm going to show you the exact method that took me from complete failure to perfect bath bombs every single time. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly why your bath bombs crack, crumble, or refuse to fizz. So enough with the intro and let's make some bath bombs that actually work. First, let's talk about this recipe. I have tried so many different recipes before landing on this one. I literally failed maybe dozens of batches before I realized what exactly worked in order to make good bath bombs every single time. And here is basically what you need to make a good bath bomb: baking soda, citric acid, cornstarch, isopropyl alcohol, and a light oil, any light liquid oil. That's it. But there are definitely extras that you can add to this recipe to make a great bath bomb even better. I'm going to go into the ingredients that aren't exactly necessary, but absolutely do make a difference. Secret ingredient number 1, clay. A lot of recipes skip this, but I really like adding clay to bath bombs because of how light this ingredient is. When it comes to bath bombs, sometimes the objective is to have a floating bath bomb. Floating bath bombs are more visually appealing, they throw the scent into the air a lot better, and they also spread foam across the surface of the bath water a lot better than a bath bomb that is sunk to the bottom. So if you're struggling with sinking bath bombs, try using ingredients that are a little bit lighter, and that might fix that problem. Clay also helps with making bath bombs appear smoother, and they also help to prevent cracking. The next secret ingredient that I love to use is a powdered milk. Some people might think that adding milk to a bath bomb is not going to make that much of a difference. Wrong. Milk baths feel so good on the skin. They are so soothing. And it's because milk contains those natural fats that help skin feel so soft and smooth. And for those vegan girlies, yes, plant-based milks have the same effect. So for example, in the bath bomb that I'm making here, I've added coconut milk and it feels so good. Another cool thing about milk in bath bombs is that they add a little bit of foam and just a bit of a boost in bubbles in your bath bomb. The next secret ingredient was an absolute game changer for me in my bath bomb making journey, and that is cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is super fine and super dense. This special property in cream of tartar helps to fill in the cracks of a bath bomb, giving it a much smoother appearance, and it also leads to a much harder bath bomb. And if you are a skincare business and are shipping bath bombs, this is absolutely important. When I first started my soap business, I shipped out my early bath bombs that did not have cream of tartar, and the amount of bath bomb fails that I got word of from customers that were so disappointed in me, oh my gosh, that made me feel really bad. So I want you to not make the same mistake I did. If you are struggling with crumbling, soft bath bombs, try cream of tartar. It might be the one thing that your bath bomb is missing. One thing to remember about cream of tartar is that it is a very heavy ingredient. So you don't want to use too much because the weight of that could actually drag the bath bomb down and make it so that it doesn't float. You do not need a lot of cream of tartar to make a big difference in your bath bomb. The next secret ingredient is kind of a mouthful, so I'll just give the acronym, and that is SLSA, the full word being down here. SLSA is what's called a surfactant. It produces bubbles and foam in the products that you add it to. And for bath bombs, it really gives bath bombs a boost of foam and bubbles that you really can't match with any other ingredient. Another great thing about SLSA is that it slows down the fizzing of the bath bomb by a lot, like a huge difference of time that it takes for the bath bomb to fizz out if it didn't have SLSA to a bath bomb that does contain SLSA. It can mean the difference between a bath bomb that fizzes out in 1 minute and a bath bomb that fizzes out in 20 minutes. I'm not even joking. So through experimentation, by adding specific amounts of SLSA, you can actually control how long your bath bomb lasts, depending on the amount of SLSA that you use. The next ingredient is not really a secret. Most bath bombs do this, and that is some sort of fragrance oil or essential oil that adds scent to the bath bomb. While you absolutely don't need to make a scented bath bomb in order to make a good bath bomb, the scent adds to the whole bath bomb experience when you're soaking in your tub. And I also really like using certain essential oils like lavender essential oil for its calming and soothing properties when you breathe it in. It absolutely adds to the experience. The next secret ingredient that I love to use is polysorbate 80. And polysorbate 80 is a solubilizer, meaning it helps to mix oil and water together nicely. Without this, you might get an oil slick effect where the oil sits on top of the water. This might be something that you want to do if you are creating an extra hydrating bath bomb, but think about what that will look like once the water is drained and the oil is left behind. It might make for a very slippery tub, which could be dangerous for you or a customer. And you really don't want oils that haven't been mixed in water nicely to go down your drain, because that might not be very good for your plumbing. And the last secret ingredient that I love using in bath bombs are skin-loving extracts and additives. I love adding these special ingredients in a bath bomb because of how long people typically soak in a bathtub. It's really lovely to soak in bath water that contains extracts with properties that are anti-inflammatory, skin repairing, or hydrating. So here are my bath bomb making and molding techniques. I start every bath bomb batch by mixing all of the dry ingredients first. And it is so important that your dry mix contains 0 clumps. And I prevent this by using a stand mixer. I keep the speed on low almost the entire time. But if you don't have a stand mixer and you're just whisking your ingredients together, that should be fine. Just make sure that you are really crushing those dry ingredients and pressing out all of those clumps. And you can even run your dry ingredients through a sieve to really make sure that there are no big clumps in your dry mix. And you want to mix this all very thoroughly. Again, my stand mixer does a really good job about that, but a way to test whether or not your mix is thoroughly mixed well is to rub it between your hands to make sure that it is a uniform mix in both color and in texture. Before I add the wet ingredients, I want to go into the 5 big mistakes that ruin a lot of beginner bath bomb batches. Mistake number 1 is adding your liquid too fast. When you're adding liquid to your bath bomb mix, you really want to add it slowly and gradually over time. If you're using a stand mixer, make sure that you are allowing that paddle attachment to really blend that liquid in before you add more. Just have a thin, uniform trail of your liquid going into the bath bomb mix. This will allow your stand mixer to really get all of the liquid incorporated into your dry ingredients nicely and evenly. And if you're not using a stand mixer, make sure that you're rubbing that mixture between your hands so that you know for sure that there aren't any wet spots, any trapped liquid, because that trapped liquid can actually cause little mini activations in your bath bombs, and that causes warts. So what we're doing here is making sure that we are mixing everything as thoroughly and evenly as possible. Mistake number 2, and this is a big one, and that is trying to make bath bombs on a really humid day. This might be hard to believe, but humidity that hovers above 60% is going to ruin bath bomb batches. It's surprising how much that ambient air can affect bath bombs, both during the making process and after, during the drying process. So you really want to try to control that humidity. If you want to make bath bombs and your environment is very humid, one way to control that is by getting a dehumidifier and having that run the whole time you're making bath bombs. Another way to fight against humidity is by adding less liquid. And for me, if it's a very humid day, how I do that is by not spraying the bath bomb mix as much with water or eliminating that step altogether. There are times where I've made bath bombs by adding pretty much no water. And it's one of those things that you'll begin to be familiar with your specific environment. So it's hard to coach people on how to know what's the right amount of liquid to add or the right amount of water sprays to add, because everyone's environment is just so different. So the best thing is to not get discouraged and to experiment and to try different things until you land on that perfect amount of liquid that you know will make a good bath bomb. The next mistake is not testing the mixture, and this is such a crucial step. The way that you test a bath bomb mixture, or the way that you know that a bath bomb mixture is ready to be pressed, is by collecting some of it in your hand and squeezing it. And when you open your palm and it keeps its shape, that means that the bath bomb mix is good to go and it's ready to be pressed. If you do the squeeze test and the bath bomb mix just falls apart in your hands, that means you got to spray it with a few more sprays of water. And I'm talking just 1 or 2 extra sprays. You don't want to go crazy with water, because if you add too much water, that almost means a failed batch every time. It's really hard to save a batch that has way too much water in it versus a batch that's too dry. So you're wanting to add liquid very slowly and minimally until you get to the right consistency. The next mistake can be so frustrating because you have gone through all of these steps to mix all these ingredients in, and you're now at the packing stage, and you go to pack the bath bomb mix together and it just falls apart, does not come together. And the mistake here is overpacking or overfilling your molds. You really don't want your molds packed too tightly. There's this weird thing that happens when you fill a bath bomb mold with too much mix. It just wants to fight against that, and it doesn't naturally come together. So while you might be tempted to just jam the mix into the molds, resist the urge. Overpacking also creates weak spots that cause the bath bomb to crack and fall apart later. So you might think that you have a perfectly formed bath bomb only to come back to it later and it's fallen apart during the drying process. The next mistake is one that I never see talked about, and that is adjusting a dry mix with water instead of using oil. And I know that one of the fixes in the mistakes that I talked about earlier was to spray more water, but that only works to a point. There's a certain point in the process where if you add more water to a mix, it just keeps making the problem worse. And in my experience, if you add water at the point where you're about to press the bath bombs together, it's too late at that point. So if you're noticing that your bath bomb mix is too dry, even after you've formed your experiment, you're testing the mixture and it stays together in your hands at that point. And then when you go to press the bath bomb at a later point and it doesn't come together and you realize that the mix is too dry, it might have dried out in that time for whatever reason. The way to fix that is by adding a little bit more oil. And that will help the bath bomb come together and it'll add that required hydration to wet the mixture again. But if you add more water, it just keeps ruining the batch and it just turns into a big mess. And you're not wanting to add a lot of oil. It's just a few grams and you're testing each time because again, just like with water, if you add too much oil, it can ruin the batch. So let me dive into my molding technique just a little bit further. So when I'm using a 2-part mold, in this case that I'm showing here on camera, 2 stainless steel molds, what I'll do is I'll fill each one loosely. And then once it's half full, I'll press down lightly, just a quick pat. And then I'll continue filling the mold and I don't press down after that point. And I keep filling until it is heaping, like really, really tall. And then I smush it together, just come together really, really fast. And as I'm pressing the 2 halves together, I'm really feeling for the mix just coming together organically, just 2 halves becoming one. And I don't feel any external pressure. It's weird, if the bath bomb mix is not feeling it, you're gonna feel a bit of tension, like the 2 halves are wanting to come apart. And when you feel that tension, it probably means that the bath bomb batch is either too wet or there's a mistake that happened at some point. So when the halves come together nicely, then you know that there's a good chance that the bath bomb is gonna come out of that mold in one piece. Once you have those 2 halves together, then you can wipe off the excess, give the bath bomb mold a bit of a twist so that it comes off of the bath bomb surface, then just pull it off. And then you flip it over and pull off the other half, and you've got yourself a perfectly formed bath bomb. And this whole time you're being very gentle, you're not forcing anything. If you have to force anything, something might have gone wrong in the process, so it's a very light-handed, gentle process. The thing about using hand molds and you're making round bath bombs, if you want your bath bomb to keep that round shape, you're gonna have to either dry it in the mold that you use to make the bath bomb or use a tray with a round cavity. Because if you don't, then gravity is going to pull that bath bomb down and you're going to come back to your dried bath bombs all broken apart and cracked. So there's lots of different ways you can do this. I think at grocery stores, they have those fruit trays that the fruit comes in those cavities. I've seen bath bombs dried there. You can get a really official bath bomb tray that I have and bought from the Bath Bomb Press. I have it linked down below. But the most important thing is if you want round dried bath bombs, they have to be drying in a rounded space that supports that roundness. And speaking of the Bath Bomb Press, I own a bath bomb press. And the molding technique is very similar, only instead of filling 2 halves, you're filling 1 mold. And very similar, I just add the mix loosely until I fill it up about halfway, press down very lightly, continue filling it until it is overfilled. I clean off the edge because if I don't, it just sprays everywhere from the press coming down. And then I put it into the machine and press, and it's that simple. And to unmold the bath bombs from the bath bomb machine or the bath bomb press mold, I twist, flip it over, and I get a perfectly molded bath bomb. The bath bomb press is a big investment, so unless you are selling a lot of bath bombs and you have an actual need for a bath bomb press, then you don't need a bath bomb press to make good bath bombs. Just make sure that you are drying your rounded hand-formed bath bombs in something round so that it stays round. So when it comes to drying the bath bombs, like I mentioned, make sure that the round bath bombs are drying in a cavity that keeps them round. If you are in a very humid environment, make sure that there is a dehumidifier nearby that will help suck out that extra moisture from the air so that they dry perfectly fine and not all warty, because you can get warts on a bath bomb if it's too humid in the environment that it's drying in. Just leave them undisturbed for at least 24 hours before you attempt to remove them from the tray or attempt to wrap them. They really need all of that moisture evaporated from them. Otherwise, you might end up trapping any moisture that the bath bomb itself contains inside of whatever you decide to package them in, which could cause the bath bomb to activate. So here are some troubleshooting tips. If your bath bombs are too crumbly, that means that they didn't have enough moisture when you were forming the bath bomb itself. A fix to that is by adding a little bit more water and also possibly adding more oil. Another issue is if your bath bombs are cracking as they are drying, that means that you added too much liquid to the bath bomb and it's causing your bath bomb to expand and crack and activate. Cracking can also be because of too much humidity in the air, so as they are drying, have that dehumidifier set up. And another possible fix is adding a little bit more cornstarch. If your bath bombs aren't fizzing enough, it might mean that you need to bump up your citric acid amount. And a lot of bath bomb recipes use 2 parts baking soda to 1 part citric acid. It's okay to play around with that ratio. You will still get a bath bomb, and it will affect how much or how little the bath bomb will fizz, but that's what experimentation is all about. That citric acid might also be expired or really old, so make sure that you're looking at the expiry date of that citric acid. Too much liquid can also cause premature activation, which will kill the fizzing action when the bath bomb is dispersed in water. If your bath bombs are sticking to the molds, one thing you can do is lightly coat your molds with a little bit of that light oil that you used in the recipe, and that will help the bath bomb be released a lot easier with minimal damage. Trust me, I have made all of these mistakes, so if you have made these mistakes, don't feel bad. Don't get discouraged. Keep trying. It gets better, I promise. Because of how finicky bath bombs are, there is a big learning curve. But the learning curve comes from knowing the environment and getting familiar with your environment so that you are able to control the humidity and know how much or how little water or oil you need to add after observing your environment. And over time, it does become instinct, so you're not having to think so hard and you are getting more and more consistent batches. That's why I think it's really important to nail down your recipe and your techniques in small batches so that you're not wasting a ton of ingredients. And once you have nailed that batch down and you're doing it consistently, then you can work on making more, scaling that batch up, playing around with different colors, with different scents, with different additives, and customizing that recipe or formula so that it truly becomes your own. If you persevere through the initial frustrations of learning how to make bath bombs, the payoff is so worth it. I love making bath bombs. And while it can be very frustrating and very discouraging, stick with it. It really does pay off in the end. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you want the basic recipe, I have that available in the description box below. But if you want a recipe with all of those extra ingredients, and this is a recipe for a really, really good bath bomb, and you feel like your skills are ready for that next level, then that is available on my Patreon, which is linked in the description box as well. Thank you to all of my patrons who choose to support me on there. You guys are amazing. I appreciate all of you. And not only does that Patreon contain that bath bomb recipe, but also over 100 skincare recipes, soap recipes, body butter recipes, lip balm recipes. There is so much that you can explore. Just under that $5 tier, it unlocks all of those recipes and formulas. And you also get access to me. You can send me direct messages through Patreon and I will answer them guaranteed. But thank you so much for choosing to spend time with me today, and I really hope that you join me for the next video. And until that next video, keep smiling, keep being awesome, and keep making beautiful things like bath bombs. Bye, guys.